Part 65. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 659. Although this mixed army composed mostly of volunteers blocked the Chaos Body's attack, soldiers died every moment from the Chaos Body's sudden attacks and the corrosive liquid it spewed. Chaos monsters are rapidly evolving and becoming stronger. The officials of Char City and their armed guards who have been fighting against the Chaos monsters for several days are fully aware of this. From the beginning, he was just a manic, painless, and extremely aggressive bulimia patient, and then later became a monster with tough flesh and strong vitality that was mutated by the bulimia patient. Then there are the animal-shaped Chaos Body that is now hiding in the shadows and delivering fatal blows to the enemy at any time, and the chariot-level Chaos Body that is wrapped in solid biological clock armor, like a mobile chariot. Nowadays, there is a Chaos Body that can spray high-strength corrosive liquid from a distance and is a long-range attack type of Chaos Body. If this continues, no one knows what terrifying Chaos Body will eventually evolve into. When the night is about to dissipate and dawn is about to come, the mixed army that has fought hard all night has reached the edge of collapse. These volunteers who are willing to fight the monsters to the death and have never set foot on the battlefield have done what they want. The limit of what can be achieved. Some volunteers who had fought fiercely all night looked at the number of monsters that had not decreased at all, and couldn't help asking themselves whether everything they had done was in vain. It's better to give up the resistance from the beginning, at least you don't have to go through the hell of the past few days. The mayor of Char City came to the front line in person, wearing a combat uniform with an exoskeleton auxiliary power system, holding a heavy machine gun and fighting bloody battles with the soldiers, while speaking loudly on the communication to encourage morale. Fighters. Reinforcements are about to arrive. As long as we hold on for a while, victory will belong to us. The demigod warriors under the goddess are already on their way, and when they arrive it will be time for us to return to attack. At that time, we will grind these disgusting bastards who dare to trample on our homeland into powder. Some soldiers were talking to each other during the break. In fact, they didn't really believe the mayor's news that reinforcements were about to arrive, because the mayor had said this countless times yesterday. However, most of the people living in Claude's world are descendants of the interstellar exploration fleet. They have not received a peaceful education since childhood. They are more willing to fight their enemies to the death with honor than to cowardly be killed. However, someone soon discovered something strange in the night sky as dawn was about to rise. Fiery meteors fell straight down from the slightly dim sky, and their landing point was in the square in front of the Char City government building. On the ground, volunteers and armed guards who took a break for a while looked up to the sky. It's reinforcements. It's reinforcements. The reinforcements have finally arrived. We can survive. But soon a shout full of surprise broke the silence of the scene. For a moment, everyone was excited. Some cheered in surprise, and some knelt down and cried out to thank the goddess. For a time, all kinds of expressions in the world were on display. Under the attention of all the soldiers in the area, a dense wave of small carpet bombings fell on the ground first. The continuous explosions were deafening, and the terrifying fire clouds and shock waves spread to the surroundings. However, it was obvious that the explosion was carefully calculated. Apart from disgracing some soldiers, it did not affect the volunteer soldiers' defense lines too much. Immediately afterwards, the polygonal airdrop cabins of the ships, which were narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, crashed onto the scorched earth after the explosion. As the locks of the hatches were disconnected, the hatches fell heavily to the ground. Deafening gunshots rang out, and chains of fire with blue tails shot out from the open hatch. Some chaos monsters that rushed into the explosion pit after the explosion were swept away by the fire chain, and their bodies were directly hit and exploded in the air. Corpses and internal organ fragments flew out in all directions. The scene was extremely horrific and bloody. Feeling the vibrations from the cabin, Astrid knew that the airdrop cabin she was in had successfully landed. She opened her eyes, and the two prismatic goggles on the face of the helmet suddenly lit up. As the fixed lock that fixed the body rose, the hatch in front of Astrid also opened, and a ray of rising sun fell into Astrid's tall and gorgeous demigod armor inside the cabin. At the same time, there were also the sounds of gunshots and the roars of chaos monsters from the outside world. All of this made Astrid feel excited in her calm heart. She could no longer remember how many years had passed since she last participated in a battle. 50 years ago, or 100 years ago. He walked out of the airdrop pod with a slight stoop, surrounded by several soldiers of the Clawed Blade Legion who were as tall as his shoulders. They were holding Blaster Type 2 and fired every penetrating implosion shell in the gun chamber into chaos. Inside the body. Fighters of Clawed's Blade. For the goddess. Destroy all the monsters in front of you. Astrid yelled in the communication, then took a gun in her right hand and a sword in her left hand, and rushed towards the chaos monster. Her red cloak with the pattern of the Clawed Blade Legion behind her was flying in the wind. For a time, the soldiers of the Clawed Blade Legion on the battlefield were also affected by the bravery of their legion leader. They formed an offensive formation with their surrounding companions, shooting the surrounding enemies while advancing. After an hour, the scorching blade of Fan Shenjian chopped off the head of a heavily armored chaos body. The blaster in Astrid's other hand also fired simultaneously, beating an animal-shaped chaos body that was rushing toward her in the air. 2 sections. Then he waved his gun-wielding arm and used the thick arm guard to knock another monster away. He raised his leg and stepped down hard on the head of the beast-shaped chaos body that was still trying to bite half of its body on the ground. For a moment, juice splashed everywhere. As the blaster in Astrid's hand exploded the head of the last chaos monster on the battlefield, the Clawed Blade army achieved a complete victory in this landing battle. The chaos monsters were severely damaged and have returned to Char City, in a complex of buildings that are still intact. Thank you, Lord Commander, for your rescue. It's thanks to you citizens that we survived. The mayor of Char City came to Astrid in a combat uniform with traces of battle. Looking at this demigod warrior who was nearly half a height taller than himself and with unusually majestic armor, he sincerely expressed his gratitude. Feelings. You don't have to be so polite. We are well aware of your heroism in resisting the chaos body. It was your desperate resistance that saved the city and allowed the people of the goddess to survive. Moreover, it is my duty to rescue you, so there is no need to thank you. On the contrary, I want to express my apology to you. It is precisely because we did not arrive in time that the chaotic body surrounded this place. Astrid's voice was not as high-pitched as Mayor Char expected. The demigod leader was surprisingly easy to talk to and very polite, especially in the last words, which contained a hint of self-blame. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 660. After exchanging information and current situation with Mayor Char, Astrid regrouped the battle group she led. At the same time, small carrier ships began to land in the air, and super heavy tanks originating from Fanshan planet drove out from the carrier ship. The huge and heavy vehicle body, nearly 5 meters high, and the various large and small gun ports on it did not have anyone dares to question the intensity of its firepower. At the same time, the carrier ship in the air did not leave. Although the carrier ship was not heavily armed and only had self-defense weapons for close defense, it could eventually provide a certain amount of air fire support. Another reason is that so far, no chaotic creatures have been found in the air. This is the reason why Astrid let the carrier ship stay. When all preparations were completed, Astrid gave the order to attack. In addition to leaving 500 chapter members to protect the survivors here, the remaining nearly 4,000 chapter members followed their prototypes. Astrid headed towards the area most severely infected by the chaos virus. Before that, a wave of carpet bombing had already been launched, wiping out most of the countless chaotic entities and bulimia nervosa raging in the city. Of course, the location of the survivors had been avoided as much as possible. The chaos virus that was still raging in Char City immediately turned from good to bad under a wave of bombings by the elite legions of the Justice World. A large number of cannon fodder for bulimia patients were reduced to ashes in the bombing. Even the rescue center, which had always been relatively abnormal, was bombed into rubble. However, it seemed that the biological tissues clinging to the walls played a role. The rescue center only collapsed and was not completely destroyed. Even so, this small-scale orbital bombing still caused devastating damage to various infrastructures in Char City. After the chaos body is eliminated, Char City will surely usher in the destiny of reconstruction. However, these are not considerations for the Clawed Blade Legion, the violent machine of the world of justice. They only need to crush the enemies of the world of justice into powder. Amidst the heavy footsteps, the remains of the building that had not completely collapsed were knocked down by the chariot arrogantly. The chaos monsters encountered along the way had not even rushed within 500 meters of the advancing Clawed Blade Legion. The shells fired from the tanks exploded into pieces. The chaos monsters that caused heavy damage to the armed guards and defense forces of Char City were vulnerable to the elite army. In just a short time, they pushed the front line forward to the source area of the chaos virus outbreak. The ground beneath the advancing Clawed Blade Legion suddenly bulged, and the next moment a dark red tentacle with a diameter of several meters broke out of the map, and a super heavy tank was directly overturned. The surrounding Clawed Blade Legion reacted quickly and immediately moved away from the area where the tentacles were, avoiding its subsequent sweep. At the same time, they retreated and fired at the tentacles. Balls of blazing fire exploded on the dancing tentacles. After a few seconds, the tentacles full of holes finally could no longer continue to dance and fell down weakly, with a large amount of red tissue fluid flowing freely. The other Clawed Blade Legion seemed not to have seen this scene, and continued to move forward with their guns pointed at the surroundings, but their pace was obviously much more cautious and slow. And this tentacle that broke through the ground was not the only one. The tanks of the Clawed Blade Legion were overturned one by one, like a bastard on all fours, with the tracks constantly rotating but unable to turn over at all. At the same time, the ground around and inside the Legion team suddenly bulged upwards, and was then stretched open by dark red tentacles several meters wide. Then the front sections of these tentacles opened, each one was nearly 3 meters tall, covered with thick biological armor, and had a monster with blade legs and clawed arms roared out of it. Astrid frowned slightly when she saw the pair of beautiful eyebrows inside the helmet, raised the blaster in her hand and pulled the trigger, and a penetrating implosion shell with a tail of blue flames shot out from the barrel. The chest of the new type of chaos body that rushed towards Astrid suddenly exploded with several balls of fire the size of footballs. However, the monster was not blown into pieces. In fact, the biological armor on its chest was blown to pieces, and the inside of the chest was even more damaged. The high temperature burns it into coke. But he did not die immediately. He still rushed forward for a certain distance before finally falling down. With their tenacious vitality, powerful defense capabilities, and suddenness of entering the battlefield, it would be a complete disaster for ordinary defense forces to encounter this kind of enemy. But with these alone, it was still far from defeating the Clawed Blade Legion. When these newly emerged chaotic monsters relied on the cover of their companions' corpses to rush in front of the warriors of the Clawed Blade Legion. The warrior of Clawed Blade Legion calmly drew out the dagger from his waist, only to hear a buzzing sound, and the blade of the dagger flashed with a subtle white light. The high-frequency particle vibration dagger is a melee combat weapon equipped by the elite legions. It can easily cut through most materials composed of basic particles, and the tough biological armor on the surface of the chaotic organism is no exception. The soldiers of the Clawed Blade Legion also learned from their legion commander, holding a gun in one hand and a high-frequency vibrating particle dagger in the other hand. When the enemy approached, they would use the dagger to defend and counterattack. When the enemy approached, they would fire directly without hesitation. As the battle gradually became more intense, some overturned super heavy tanks were turned over with the joint efforts of several clawed blade soldiers, and the several muzzles on them roared alternately. Rumbling explosions resounded on the battlefield filled with gunshots. Some of the tentacles that had just squeezed out of the ground were directly blown into pieces by the main gun of the tank. The chaotic body transported inside was blown to pieces before it came out. Meet. Astrid leads the way, and her taller body than those around her stands out on the battlefield. However, as a prototype and a demigod warrior, she is extremely powerful. Every swing of the Fan Shen sword in his hand can decapitate or cut in half the chaos body rushing in front of him. The strong demigod armor makes the chaos body helpless. Their sharp claws that can tear apart the alloy can only be used in the demigod armor. There was a scratch on it. However, the Clawed Blade Legion was not without casualties. Some warriors were unfortunately surrounded by multiple enemies, and were finally melted through the armor by the high-strength corrosive liquid sprayed by the spitters mixed in the Chaos Body monsters. With his armor destroyed and his body torn apart by the Chaos Body's claws, he still killed several Chaos Body before he finally fell. When Astrid led the Legion soldiers to step onto the biomaterial ground around the ruins of the rescue center, an ominous premonition suddenly arose in her heart. The Chaos Body did not attack again, but roared at a distance from the Legion of Clawed Blade. When Astrid ordered to shoot these monsters, the ground suddenly shook. The ruins of the rescue center began to be lifted up by something, and the originally flat ground turned into a slope. Many soldiers of the Clawed Blade Legion were caught off guard and lost their balance and fell backwards. Then there was a loud bang, and a giant mountain of dark red flesh rose from the ground, with densely packed thorns like sharp thorns pointing toward the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 661. With the appearance of the giant thorny meat mountain, horrific changes also occurred in other parts of Char City. The giant dark red tentacles broke through the soil and penetrated into the earth like tangled tree roots. Then the surface quickly dimmed and turned into a dark red solid substance that looks extremely solid. Astrid knelt on the ground and fixed her body with the Fan Shen sword in her hand. At the same time, she used the armored communication system to connect to the Legion-class battleship parked in the outer space orbit of the world of Claude. What's going on? Conduct a thorough scan of Char City immediately. I want to know what these things are. Astrid did not wait too long, news soon came over. Based on the detailed scan of the Legion-class battleship, and the interference was greatly reduced, a three-dimensional image of Char City appeared. The entire Char City and hundreds of kilometers of surrounding areas are filled with dense root-like things underground. They are absorbing the resources and organic matter contained in the earth and rapidly growing themselves. At the same time, it is rapidly changing the ecological environment of the crowd world. In the area where Astrid is located, there is already a gas in the air that is extremely deadly to the crowd people. Fortunately, the warriors of Claude's Blade all wear armor, and they have undergone in-depth physical transformation. Their qualities in all aspects have exceeded the limits of ordinary humans, so the impact on them is not great. Just as Astrid raised her head and was about to stand up, a scene appeared in her sight that made her eyes widen slightly, followed by a skyrocketing anger. Countless dark red tentacles were surging in the dark red meat mountain and separated on both sides. A man with a pale and handsome face was covered from the neck down by the black biological armor growing on the body. His body seemed to be weightless and slowly floated from it. Fly out. This alone was not enough to arouse Astrid's anger. The reason for her anger was the snow-white wings on the back of the figure who emerged from the dark red nest of flesh and blood. As a demigod warrior who had served in the world of gods, She knew very well that this was the symbol of the race to which the goddess belonged. She had pure white wings and only existed in the queen's mouth. According to legend, all of them were like a godlike family of angels. But Astrid knew very well that the person in front of her could never be a goddess. She could only be a fake fabricated by the chaos virus. The goddess race she believed in and worshipped was so desecrated. How could she, as a warrior of the goddess, endure such abuse from the chaos virus? Kind of behavior. Blasphemer. You deserve to die. Astrid's suppressed angry voice was played back in the area through the helmet's loudspeaker, and the other warriors of the Clawed Blade Legion were also filled with anger. The reason why they can become warriors beyond the limits of mortals, and why their families can have a prosperous and stable life, is all due to the system established by the goddess. No one will be allowed to slander and blaspheme the god they believe in. It's funny how they can become your gods. The man with the handsome face flapped his white wings, and in the blink of an eye he landed on a tentacle pointing straight into the sky near Astrid, and spoke with interest. This made Astrid's angry heart quickly calm down. The discovery of a chaotic monster that was intelligent and could communicate was enough to shock the entire world of justice. Seeing that Astrid didn't speak, the chaotic man continued to speak. I destroyed this prototype race of body genes hundreds of years ago. I didn't expect you to have survivors here. Now I don't have to spend a lot of time recreating my body. I believe that your god's body is enough to carry my power. This chaos body's lingua franca of the world of justice, Kamigawa, is extremely standard. When he said this, his attitude was extremely proud, as if being in his body was the glory of the ice flower goddess. The power of the goddess is invincible. I will never allow you to take a step like this. Astrid was extremely angry after hearing this. While speaking, she raised the blaster in her hand and fired a few bullets at it. However, the exploded implosion bombs were blocked by her white wings and could not hurt this woman. Counterfeit. However, Astrid took the opportunity to jump up, and the miniature hidden propulsion nozzle on her back spit out a burst of bright flames. The fan Shenjian in her hand drew a red trajectory in the air, and struck hard at the fake object standing on the hardened tentacles. Cut it down hard. But as the Chaos Angel is the collective intelligence of the Chaos Virus, all chaotic creatures here are his eyes. In the area transformed by the Chaos Virus, his information has no blind spots. Before Fan Shenjian slashed his body, the Chaos Angel spun back to avoid it. The tips of its white wings suddenly hardened, like extended sharp blades that drew an arc in the air and cut backwards. Astrid turned her attack into defense and immediately raised the divine sword of Fan. The next moment, the sharpened feathers streaked across the sword one by one, sparking waves of sparks. The Chaos Angel was not satisfied with one cut. It was like a large top, spinning and cutting again and again. Astrid was hit by the huge kinetic energy of the Chaos Angel's attack, and fell from the giant hardened tentacles when she stood unsteadily. Although the demigod armor is not equipped with flight functions, it can carry out airborne combat to a certain extent by making good use of the propulsion nozzles on its back. This was the case at this moment. Astrid Love did not fall to the ground. The micronozzle on her back suddenly increased the power while she was in the air. The demigod armor jumped forward quickly, causing the Chaos Angel following behind to jump into the air. At the same time, the Chaos monsters on the ground who had been watching before also launched an attack on the soldiers of the Clawed Blade Legion, encircling them from all sides. Their numbers were overwhelming, like a wave. The various captains of the Clawed Blade Legion were stunned when they saw this scene. This number was enough for them to deal with it cautiously, not to mention that they were still in the unfavorable situation of being surrounded. Immediately, the battlefield that had just been calm for a moment was once again filled with deafening gunfire and the roar of artillery. At this moment, the super heavy tanks were also limited by factors such as terrain and combat environment. They could only approach each other with thick bodies and turbulent fire. Firepower builds a steel line of defense. On the other side, the battle between Astrid and Chaos Angel is not over yet, but the two sides have fought for several rounds without gaining anything. Astrid found an opportunity to remove half of the wings of the Chaos Angel with the Fan Shen sword, and the Chaos Angel also took the opportunity to use his sharp claws to tear off the plastron of the demigod armor, hiding the jetpack on its back. The tail is destroyed. If it weren't for the excellent quality of the demigod armor and the blocking of the jet system, Astrid would have become a pendant swinging in the wind on the tail of the Chaos Angel. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 662. Astrid's breathing was a little rapid behind her helmet visor. This was because she was so focused on the previous battle that she had been holding her breath and concentrating during the process. It was only at this moment that her body finally reacted. The body that surpasses the limits of mortals is quickly relieving the load on the nerves and body during the battle, allowing it to reach its optimal state. The Chaos Angel on the other side looks very relaxed, as if he is playing a game, not because of half of his wings. Angry at being chopped down by Astrid. What a strong body, he is indeed a powerful warrior who is called a demigod by the mortals of this planet. But this makes me more curious about you, and I'm beginning to look forward to when your genes become part of my children. You are dreaming. Astrid said coldly, but her heart was not as relaxed as it seemed on the surface, because it was obvious that the Clawed Blade army under her command was in dire straits. If they did not break out from here in time, they might be destroyed. A huge number of chaotic bodies submerged here. At the same time, in outer space orbit, the great changes taking place on the surface were clearly visible from the bridge. The dark red tentacles piercing the tip of the sky and pointing towards the starry sky were like thorns growing from the inside of the Earth. Although the Legion-class battleship's tentative attack with its secondary guns broke several tentacles, it also attracted a counterattack, which was a high-intensity energy ray. According to the scan results, those tentacles are a kind of bioenergy transport pipeline, and the cells inside them are performing bioenergy synthesis at all times, although the efficiency of individual cells is not high. But just the area on the ground that expanded hundreds of kilometers was terrifying enough, not to mention the even larger body underground, and all of this happened in just a month. The variants of the Chaos virus that appeared in the world of Claude are more deadly than the Chaos viruses that the Justice world has encountered before anywhere. They know how to lurk and will not suddenly attack until they have a certain ability to protect themselves. Just as the Legion-class battleship was thinking about how to deal with the growing tentacles of Chaos, orders from Chapter Commander Astrid on the ground also reached the ears of the commanders on the bridge. Using the area 2 kilometers away from me as the starting point and extending outward to carry out orbital bombing, I have uploaded the distribution image of the chaotic body. The Legion-class battleship immediately began to move. One side of the ship began to tilt, and all the secondary guns and main guns with shooting angles on the ship were aimed at Char City in the world of Claude. Analysts in the bridge then began to analyze the orbital bombing layout in order to have the least impact on the Clawed Blade Legion on the surface and at the same time open a safe passage. A few minutes later, the main gun of the Legion-class battleship was the first to roar, and a giant pointed cannon shot out with a tail flame. Naturally, it was not a high-power energy strike, but a warhead filled with high-energy polymer crystals. Physical warhead. Those dark red hardened tentacles that were originally silent found that there was an object trying to break through the protective net they had built. The front part of the tentacles immediately fired out beams of light to intercept it. A beam of light happened to touch the cannonball that was shooting towards the surface, and a dazzling giant fireball suddenly appeared in the atmosphere of Crowder's world, contracted for a while and then expanded rapidly. The terrifying energy flames and impact shook all the dark red tentacles with a radius of several kilometers to pieces, and then the spreading blazing white halo swallowed up objects with a radius of more than 10 kilometers. The terrifying high temperature and energy storm contained in it tore and shattered all objects into the basic elements of the universe. The city of Char on the ground was naturally also affected. A raging shockwave pressed down from the sky, and mud and rocks flew everywhere for a while. Whether it was the warriors of the Clawed Blade Legion or the creatures of chaos, they were faced with this storm shockwave that was called a natural disaster. We can only try to fix ourselves to prevent being swept away. Astrid used the Fan Shen sword to cut a gap under her feet and hid in it. The Chaos Angel was also not far away, pressing her body close to the lee of the giant hardened tentacle. The two were separated by a distance and waited for the storm to pass. After completing the above-mentioned strike and opening a gap in the sky above Char City, the Legion-class warship had already completed locking various beams and physical weapons, and fired all weapons as long as the range could reach the surface. A stream of red rays and implosion bombs dragging tail flames rushed into the dark red tentacle group through the gap in the center, reaching the surface of Crowder's world. The raging shockwave storm on the ground had just passed, and deafening continuous explosions were heard immediately. Countless chaotic monsters that had been lucky enough to escape the raging storm were torn into pieces by the attacks from the sky, along with the ground under their feet and the surrounding dark red tentacles. Seeing this scene, the Chaos Angel's originally calm expression finally changed. It didn't matter how many ordinary chaos bodies died, but the thorny flesh mountain that was a part of him was also bombed. That was his body that returned to the Star Sea. It cannot be destroyed easily. At this moment, an energy ball shining with blue arc light hit the Chaos Angel's back. The terrifying high-temperature plasma instantly affected the creatures on its back, affecting the armor and flesh, burning a black hole. A few hundred meters away, a sniper from the Clawed Blade Legion put down the plasma sniper rifle in his hand, changed the direction and continued shooting. At the same time, Astrid jumped up from the area, seized the fleeting opportunity, and slashed horizontally with the Fan Shenjian in her hand, cutting off one arm and half of the Chaos Angel's body. The Chaos Angel's face was ferocious, and white gas was constantly coming out of the wound. His left hand, which was like a sharp blade, grabbed Astrid, but she sidestepped nimbly, and stabbed back with Fan Shenjian. As if he had experienced the most rigorous calculation, the blade of Fan Shenjian accurately penetrated into the face of the Chaos Angel, who was slightly bowing his body to attack. It wasn't until she felt that the Chaos Angel behind her had completely lost its ability to fight back that Astrid withdrew her weapon and turned to look at the Chaos body on the ground, which had the same racial characteristics as the goddess and was highly intelligent. At this moment, the Chaos Angel's body seemed to collapse and began to melt into a pool of viscous dark red fluid, which submerged into the hardened tentacles under Astrid's feet. The next moment, the ground shook and the mountains shook. The Mountain of Thorns, which was originally as huge as a mountain peak, further rose in height. At the same time, something huge like a flower bud appeared. However, Astrid was powerless to stop all of this. At this moment, she and the members of her legion were shooting the chaos monsters that were approaching, while retreating towards the outskirts of Char City, which was hit by orbital bombardment and created a gap. Suddenly, blue light flashed in Astrid's sight as she was retreating. She turned around and looked back, her eyes widening slightly behind her helmet. The flower-like tissues on the surface of Thornroshan began to swell, and a bright blue light lit up inside. The next moment, a ball of energy scattered with scattered debris was ejected from it, rushing towards the sky. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 663. Not only the area where Astrid is located, but also the large area around Char City, there are blue energy groups rising into the sky, as brilliant as meteors. But these beautiful meteors hide deadly murderous intent. The Legion-class battleships located in the outer orbit of the world of Claude are fully aware of this. Walking through these meteors, passing over the ship's hull, and occasionally being hit by those blue meteors, the outer armor of the Legion-class battleship will undergo violent energy explosions. However, these energy groups alone were not able to cause large-scale damage to the Legion-level warship, but they also caused some damage to the hull. As a last resort, the Legion-level warship could only accelerate and stay away from this area. The aggregation of chaos virus on the ground finally no longer hides, intending to completely cleanse the world of Claude. Countless bulges appeared on the mountain of thorns, and then burst into pieces. The grey wings of a man behind him were covered with pitch-black biological armor. A special chaotic body appears. The mountain of thorns and meat in an area in the middle of these special chaotic bodies suddenly lost its vitality and collapsed like fragile ceramics, and a figure rushed out from it. The dark metal-like biological armor fits tightly on his body, with golden ear-length hair, brown eyes, and handsome facial features. It was clearly the Chaos Angel that Astrid had killed before, but there was nothing unusual about the Chaos Angel compared to before. If it weren't for the biological armor on her body, Astrid would have thought that there was something wrong with her. They are truly the same race of the goddess. After the Chaos virus no longer lurked in Char City, several surrounding cities also suffered huge damage due to the dark red tentacles rising from the ground, and a large number of citizens died as a result. The subsequent transformation of the ecological environment has intensified the number of casualties in Crowder's world. At the same time, the infected areas of the Chaos virus are also spreading rapidly, and the number of bulimia patients is soaring. Seeing that the Chaos virus in Crowder's world is about to get out of control and spread to the entire world, the blue energy light flashed on the outer orbit of Char City, and then quickly expanded to a circle of several meters. The space in the middle was shattered into countless fragments, and it was sunk toward the center, as if it was covered by something. Swallowed generally. Then a figure wearing a gorgeous silver body armor, a pair of white wings, a calm expression, and a pair of dark eyes seemed to be looking down at everything, flew out of the space passage that was constantly fragmenting and reorganizing at the edge. She is the founder of the Just World and the supreme ruler of the Just World. The goddess Binghua is called the King of Gods by the residents of the ever-bright Just World. The moment Binghua appeared, her insightful eyes understood the current details of Crowder's world. The next moment, her whole body lit up with dozens of glimmers of light, and then she was stretched into a ring structure with 12 swords. Fixed in it is a gorgeous épée that is as dazzling as a star. The red gold sword body was covered with simple and fine carvings, which were more exquisite and gorgeous than some exquisite works of art, but in Binghua's eyes, these things were just consumables. The moment these heavy swords were fully revealed, they turned into blazing meteors that shot from the ice flower towards the world of Claude in front of them. They fell from the sky to the earth's surface, just like the catastrophic fire at the end of the world. Regarding all this, Astrid and other Legion soldiers who were still in Claude's world did not know. They only saw the blazing fire falling from the sky, and the next moment they heard only a loud roar. A huge hole was directly smashed into the thorny mountain in the distance. Deep in the hole, a red gold longsword lay quietly among the ruins carbonized by the high temperature. But suddenly, the ring structure at the sword grid that was used to bind the bright energy core like a star suddenly collapsed, just like a precursor to the collapse of the embankment. The next moment, cracks covered the entire ring-shaped structure of the sword in the blink of an eye, and then the red gold sword suddenly turned into metal fragments and exploded. The energy core at the sword grid, which was slightly larger than a fingernail, began to fluctuate on its surface, and the next moment it suddenly began to expand, swallowing up everything around it. Some special chaotic bodies in the air that had not yet figured out their situation were swallowed up in the blink of an eye by the expanding fireball that suddenly appeared from the thorns and flesh. They were instantly turned into ashes and could not even utter a scream. The giant fireball expanded to a height of thousands of meters, and the impact on the surroundings was not strong, but the extreme high temperature continued to radiate its extremely abundant energy to the surroundings. Even Astrid and others who were thousands of meters away from the explosion area were able to detect the sudden rise in temperature by several levels through the armor's sensors. Chaos virus polymers that were originally afraid of ultra-high temperatures were carbonized into fragile char by high temperatures. Only the parts located extremely deep underground were spared. Above the devastated ground, which was covered with liquid that had not yet cooled. Binghua's figure slowly fell into the air dozens of meters above the ground, and its fiery red eyes reflected by the earth swept across the ground below. Then Binghua's sight stopped moving at a certain place. After a few seconds, the unknown existence hidden underground seemed to sense this indifferent sight and stopped hiding. The crystallized carbonized ground was suddenly broken open, and a figure rushed into the sky. It was the highly intelligent chaos virus aggregate in the world of Claude. However, compared to the above description, Binghua prefers to call him a chaos lord, because everything he does is developing himself and expanding his power, which is fundamentally different from the chaotic spread of chaos viruses seen in the past. Coupled with the fact that the Chaos Lord is suspected of being able to control the Chaos virus and its creations, Binghua believes that the name of the Chaos Lord is well deserved. It seems that you are their god. If you are hiding in the universe, I may not be able to do anything to you. I didn't expect you to be so stupid as to come to me. The Chaos Angel said loudly. The male angel's face showed a ferocious murderous intent, and at some point, a giant sword made of countless tiny filaments twisted and knotted appeared in his hand. Where did you meet an angel who looks like you? Binghua asked, but did not answer the Chaos Angel's words, and his calm face did not change in any way due to the Chaos Angel's arrogance. The wings of the Chaos Angel's back suddenly spread out, and he rushed straight towards Binghua, and at the same time he said wildly, when you become a part of me, you will naturally know where I met the angel in your mouth. The corners of Binghua's eyes twitched slightly. Should I say that this Chaos Lord is reckless, or should I say that he is so short-sighted that he can't even tell the strength of the enemy or ourselves? Binghua raised his figure and easily dodged the approaching figure, while turning around and speaking softly. Since you don't cooperate, then I can only take some coercive measures. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 664. The charging figure of the Chaos Angel turned around and rushed towards Binghua again, dragging out a surging airflow behind him, and slashed out mercilessly with the alien sword in his hand. Apart from the initial dodge, Binghua made no other moves. Facing the Chaos Angel's slashing sword, Binghua's expression was very calm, and his dark eyes could clearly reflect the Chaos Angel's constant attack. An approaching figure. The harsh sound of metal collision echoed in the air, and the Chaos Angel's attack was blocked by a piece of silver metal with irregular edges that suddenly appeared in front of Binghua. Seeing this, the Chaos Angel immediately changed directions and continued to attack. After hearing a few deafening sounds of gold and iron clashing, several irregular pieces of metal appeared around Binghua. After a while, these silver metals disintegrated into smoke-like substances and returned. The silver armor on Binghua's body. What is this? The Chaos Angel thought he was well informed, but he had never encountered a situation like this before. No matter how he attacked, he would be blocked by the unknown metal that suddenly appeared around Binghua. This is not an ability that living things should have at all. Even eternal sublimators who are good at mechanical technology do not have the means to manipulate metal. The self-disciplined defense system has been automatically turned on and is analyzing and reconstructing the defense algorithm. On the other side, Binghua listened to the voice in his mind and was very satisfied with his latest masterpiece. After a long period of analysis of the data on the body of the god of Devourer, Binghua discovered that it was constructed of countless miniature metal robots, so he could change and reorganize your body at will. However, compared to the Devourer god who prefers changes and duplications of technological weapons, Binghua focuses on strengthening the strength and quantity of this micro-robot, redefining its materials, and adding mass energy conversion technology. Binghua created a kind of living metal that can reproduce and proliferate itself and has extremely high strength and plasticity. This is the armor she now wears that can change and automatically defend against attacks. To be honest, Binghua's current arsenal is extremely rich, but Binghua just can't get rid of her habit of making random things. This is her only hobby besides governing the world of justice. Although it is a bit of a waste of resources, Binghua is not ready to give up this remaining hobby of his. After all, he might one day use some of the gadgets he tinkered with. While Binghua was thinking about all these things, the Chaos Angel was not idle either, and kept slashing and attacking with the alien giant sword in his hand. Binghua also discovered the special feature of the weapon in the hands of Chaos Angel, which could swallow certain metal elements or energy when attacking. However, there is not much else about Binghua. The energy aspect can be managed enough for the time being. It is driven by indirect manipulation of dark energy that interferes with the energy generation and transformation of matter in the real physical universe, so that Binghua has never been short of energy. There are only a few angels in the entire Merlot heaven who have this ability. Most angels use dark energy as their main means of combat attack, and often do not perform too complicated material and energy conversions during battle. After launching attacks on Binghua from all directions, the Chaos Angel found helplessly that he could not break through the metal blocks that suddenly appeared. "It seems like you have no other options, so it's my turn." Binghua's voice did not contain much emotion, because the Angel of Chaos in front of her was not worthy of her attention. The irregular silver metal blocks that originally surrounded Binghua to block the Chaos Angel quickly changed their shapes and merged into a sea urchin-shaped metal sphere in front of Binghua. Immediately, the spikes on the surface of the metal sphere facing the Chaos Angel suddenly shot out, like sharp spears. The Chaos Angel quickly dodged to one side, but unexpectedly, the metal spikes passing by him suddenly gave birth to a branch, and then the branches branched out more and more, and the speed was extremely fast. The powerful body that the Chaos Angel was proud of was pierced by the thorn-like metal spikes in the blink of an eye. And those spikes split again after piercing the body of the Chaos Angel, smashing its internal organs to pieces. Even the powerful body created by the Chaos virus that specializes in combat is about to lose its functions at this moment. It's really tragic, but this injury shouldn't kill you completely. I believe you will tell me everything I want to know sooner or later. Binghua sighed at the current miserable situation of the Chaos Angels and was ready to call it a day. As for the chaotic situation in Claude's world, he would leave it to the demigod army that was about to arrive. Boom! The ground began to tremble violently. It was obvious that something didn't want Binghua to leave like this. As a large piece of land was lifted, the dark red abyss opened the ground and bit into Binghua. As the giant mouth with a diameter of nearly a kilometer closed, Binghua's figure also disappeared without a trace. It was obvious that it was swallowed by the giant mouth. But before the giant mouth could retract back into the ground, a series of metal spikes pierced the dark red giant mouth and the tissue below it into a sieve. For a while, dark red tissue fluid splashed everywhere, covering the entire earth. It was dyed a weird red. Immediately, the huge mouth of the abyss that turned into a sieve began to expand, and finally shattered under the load, revealing a tightly fitting metal sphere inside with spikes all over the surface. The metal sphere began to float high into the sky, and its surface began to decompose, revealing the ice inside and the Chaos Angel hanging in a cage of thorns and spikes like a piece of dried meat. After reaching an altitude of 1,000 meters, Binghua temporarily stopped rising and looked at the ground. He stretched out his fingers and pointed at the chaotic virus aggregate monster still twisting and struggling on the ground. The scorching orange energy began to twist and gather, and even formed a whirlpool-like energy vortex in front of Binghua. This was the flame bombing that originally required the assistance of the flaming sword to complete the operation. But now that Binghua has a dark plane computer that can assist in combat, he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. He can finally follow Binghua's will. The gathered dark energy and radiant energy turned into a dazzling stream of light and shot out, submerging into the earth below. Then countless cracks appeared on the ground and dazzling firelight lit up. The next moment, the ground was directly blown into pieces, and the chaos virus underneath it, the polymer, naturally could not survive this terrifying attack, twisting and struggling and turning into ashes. During the short period of time during which Binghua captured the Chaos Lord, the time and space gate system in the God's Throne world also completed redeployment. A total of 3 Destruction Class and 9 Destruction Class warships were fully loaded with demigods, and the Divine Guards were ready. As the gate of time and space opened the space barrier between the Clawed world and the God's Throne world, the assembled God's fleet rushed in without hesitation. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 665. After a while, more than a dozen huge ships appeared in the outer space of Claude's world. After Tianjian's intelligent analysis and scanning, the fleet was divided into 3 and began to carry out disinfection operations. When hundreds of demigod warriors who were comparable to Astrid, the prototype of Claude's blade, and the organic god guards landed, the Chaos Army retreated steadily and was quickly divided and annihilated. The numerical advantage they were proud of had no effect in front of the demigod army, coupled with the uninterrupted secondary artillery fire support of the Destruction-class battleships in the air. The chaos virus that originally ravaged the world of Claude was suppressed without the slightest ability to fight back. It was only a matter of time before it was completely eliminated. Compared with the so-called purification of the entire world by the Eternal Ascended One without mercy, the methods of the righteous world appear to be extremely gentle. The God's fleet first scans the area infected by the chaos virus for distress signals and survivors. If not, it first carries out a carpet bombing to burn the chaos virus aggregate and everything on the surface to ashes. Then, a special penetrating warhead will be fired to disinfect the underground. If survivors are found, a mixed combat team composed of demigod warriors and divine guards will be airdropped to rescue the survivors with fire support from Destruction-class battleships. Just like the original intention of the God King Hiawa Goddess to establish the just world, she is a refuge for the weak. As long as she joins this big family, the just world will not give up on its people no matter what the circumstances. The most loyal warriors of the God King believed in this as their code of conduct and carried it out without hesitation. Even if it hurt their brothers and compatriots, they did not complain at all, but regarded it as an act of honor. Binghua did not return to the God's Throne world immediately, but came to one of the Destruction-class battleships, intending to wait until the chaos virus in the Claude world was controlled before returning. Goddess, each legion has completed the landing, the chaos virus infected area has been isolated, and the disinfection plan has been successfully implemented. The infection area of the chaos virus is currently shrinking, and it is expected that the chaos virus in the air will be reduced below the safe value in half a month. A demigod warrior wearing silver ornate metal armor and a red cape symbolizing the status of the legion leader knelt on the ground and saluted Binghua, who was sitting on a large metal seat, and gave a summary report on the current battle situation. You are doing a good job, continue to implement the disinfection plan, and help the world of Claude completely eliminate the threat of chaos virus. I will return to the God's Throne world soon, and all matters here will be handed over to you for your control. The trauma caused to the Claude world must be restored. If you have any difficulties, you can apply for support from the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Binghua first praised the Legion commander, and then handed over the affairs of Claude's world. I will definitely live up to your expectations, Goddess. After the demigod commander finished speaking, he stood up. His height of nearly 3 meters made him full of oppressive force, but he still could not overshadow the inexplicable awe of Binghua. In the God's Throne world, the God's Throne, as the thick metal doors opened to both sides, revealing an empty isolation room behind, Binghua took the lead to step into it, followed by a floating rectangular silver metal coffin nearly 2 meters high. When the metal coffin entered the isolation room, it began to decompose from the top into countless smoke-like substances that flowed towards Binghua's armor, turning into hangings and patterns on it. As the metal coffin decomposed, a dying figure with penetrating wounds all over his body and a pair of white wings was revealed. He was the Chaos Angel captured by Binghua in the world of Claude. As the Chaos Angel was controlled by several metal spikes and floated above the ring-shaped structure in the center of the isolation room, a layer of transparent stance energy immediately controlled the Chaos Angel, allowing it to float in mid-air. Apart from talking and blinking, the Chaos Angel can no longer make any other actions. This force field is the strongest cage, and anything that has not been entered and recognized cannot escape from its confinement. Along the way, Binghua had used the Eye of Insight to check the dark messages of the Chaos Angels, but unfortunately, most of them were useless. At the same time, because of the special nature of the Chaos Virus aggregate, Binghua could only see the Chaos Angels' recent information. Things. When you bring me to your base camp, aren't you afraid that I will turn this place into a hell like Crowder's world? The Chaos Angel raised his head slightly and there was no look of pain on his face. As an aggregation of Chaos Virus, he would not die due to physical damage. Only by completely destroying his body can he be completely killed. Thinking of this Chaos Angel made him regretful. He should not have used this body to carry the main consciousness, so that he could rely on the cover of the planet to make a comeback. However, what the Chaos Angels don't know is that the Justice World has already developed an inhibitor for the Chaos Virus. As long as the content of the Chaos Virus in the air drops below the safe value, it can completely kill the air and soil by spreading the inhibitor. Chaos Virus hidden in. You can give it a try. The location of this isolation room is not in the God's throne world, but in a folded space gap. Outside is a star in its prime. If you think you can swim in the stars, you are welcome to try to escape here. The corners of Binghua's mouth curled up in a slight arc looking at the Chaos Angel's expression as if he had eaten something. A trace of joy appeared in his plain heart for a long time. To be honest, very few of Binghua's enemies were truly irreconcilable life and death enemies. The enemies she faced in the past were either male angels of the same race, animal civilizations with opposite bodies, or female angels who were once as close as sisters. Things that must be eliminated, such as the Chaos Virus, really rarely exist, so Binghua's behavior has become more arbitrary. Seeing that the Chaos Angel stopped talking, Binghua directly asked what he wanted to know most. Where did you meet the original civilization of your body? How do I know? This happened thousands of years ago, who would remember it so clearly? Regarding the civilization of this body owner, we only need to remember their genes, and nothing else is important to us. Binghua frowned slightly when he heard this, and the answer was as if he hadn't said it yet. It seems that you are of the same race as them, but what makes me curious is that they are of the same race and you are completely different. If they were as powerful as you, they wouldn't become a genetic model in our gene pool. Chaos Virus was very surprised by this, because Binghua's power was not comparable to the angels he had encountered before, not even a little bit stronger. Your Chaos Virus has both mutant and non-mutant variants, so why can't we angels be divided into strong and weak ones? Although they have separated from the leadership of Merlot Heavenly Court, they are still members of the angel civilization. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 666. After more than an hour of conversation, Binghua did not get any useful information from Chaos Virus, and Chaos Virus had no intention of hiding anything. But it really didn't know that it had encountered an angel civilization there. It only had a vague impression of it, and it only knew that it was a large-scale angel group. At that time, because it coveted the powerful body of the angel, the Chaos Virus once had a conflict with this group of angels and was at a disadvantage, but in the end the Eternal Ascended Ones got involved. Faced with the erosion of the Chaos Virus and the mechanical army of the Eternal Ascended Ones, this group of angels was eventually defeated and dispersed and fled the battlefield and the star field. Anyway, the Chaos Angels have never encountered them in their memory since then. Hearing this, Binghua couldn't help but mourn for that group of angels. The Chaos Star Sea was already a relatively dangerous area, and even Merlot Heavenly Court in its heyday did not choose to expand and develop here. It is because there are two forces in the sea of stars that cannot be ignored, that is, the eternal sublimator who purifies all planets infected by the chaos virus and the chaos virus that devours all planets infected with life. After finding that he could not get any useful information, Binghua left the isolation room used to isolate the chaos angels, returned to the throne of God, and began to optimize the transmission mode of the gate of time and space. Binghua personally experienced a single teleportation through the gate of time and space, and found that the pressure was beyond what ordinary beings could withstand. Therefore, Binghua plans to add a protective force field to the teleportation target during the small-scale teleportation through the gate of time and space to prevent the teleporter from being injured due to the pressure of the space channel. In fact, there is another way to solve this problem, and that is micro-wormhole transportation technology, which uses wormholes to connect two target points to achieve rapid transfer. However, Binghua only has a fair understanding of micro-wormhole technology. It would be okay to optimize the finished algorithm, but it might be a bit difficult to create something new. Even the Gate of Time and Space is a facility that Binghua built using all the knowledge he has now and with the help of many scientific researchers in the world of Makra. The applied technologies include micro-wormholes, space shuttle. There are several techniques such as folding. Sometime after the end of the world of Claude, the world of Justice began to target Chaos Lord, a variant of the intelligent Chaos virus, as a prevention and control target. All worlds have strengthened their protection in this regard to prevent the collapse of Claude's world. Tragedy happened to me. The reason for this is that when Binghua interrogated the Chaos virus said that he was not the only one among the Chaos viruses. He had many similar ones, and predicted that when other mutant chaos viruses discover the just world, they will welcome the justice world. There is only despair. Although Binghua was not frightened, she still felt a sense of crisis. She had finally managed to bring the world of justice to its current scale. If she failed to succeed, even she would feel frustrated. The news about the male angels in the Chaos Star Sea gave Binghua the idea of gathering the exiled angels under the banner of the righteous world. Binghua has a very deep understanding of the war that took place more than 10,000 years ago. Since that war, the status of male and female angels has been completely reversed. The rise of Merlot heaven means that the status of female angels is no less than that of male angels, and is even better. Therefore, the problem of male and female angels that has troubled angel civilization for a long time has actually been solved. The male and female angels of the angel civilization also have the possibility of unification. After all, a civilization that only exists of single-sex creatures is destined to not exist for a long time. Although Kesha has used the technology of transforming angels to make up for the shortcomings of Merlot heaven, both Binghua and Kesha know that this is not a long-term solution. Of course, as long as Hwaya exists for one day, the male angel will have a fantasy in his heart, the fantasy of returning to the heavenly palace era. Thinking of this Binghua, a murderous intention for Hwaya emerges in his heart. Sooner or later, Binghua will cut off Hwaya, the flag representing the old angel era, and completely eliminate this hidden danger. Moreover, through continuous reading and analysis of dark information during this period, Binghua has determined the coordinates of the star field where the Chaos Angel was before coming to the world of justice. Now that the world of justice is on the right track and has a certain ability to protect itself, coupled with the extremely convenient time and space gate system, Binghua plans to go out for a while. She is not going to tell too many people about this, otherwise she will be in trouble. It caused a certain disturbance in the world of justice. The leaders of the original world had different reactions after receiving the news. Except for Keiichi, they all wished Binghua a successful outing to achieve what he wanted. They are not worried about the safety of the goddess. Just ask if you are afraid of the existence that can rub stars with your hands. Even if the world of justice is destroyed, the goddess will be fine. As a popular saying in the world of justice goes, a goddess can live without a world of justice, but a world of justice cannot live without a goddess. Only Qi wanted to go out with Binghua, but Binghua refused and said that the world of justice needs her. If a special situation occurs, she will rush back quickly through the time and space gate system. Before leaving, Binghua mobilized some of the elite legions in the justice world to several worlds near the star field where Claude's world is located, and also arranged for the Internal Affairs Department to build a systematic orbital defense facility on them. According to the information provided by the Chaos Angel, the star field where Claude's world is located is extremely close to the war zone where the Chaos Virus and the Eternal Ascended Ones are located. Small groups of the Chaos Lords and Eternal Ascending Ones may be dispersed on the frontal battlefield at any time. The fleet rushed over. After doing all this, Binghua used the Gate of Time and Space system to leave the world of God's throne and teleport directly to his destination. In the Chaos Star Field, a star field located in the middle ring, the outer space of a desolate and dead planet suddenly shattered, forming a circular portal, from which blue light pillars shot out and bombarded the planet's surface. However, what is surprising is that this beam of light did not cause any damage to the surface of the Earth. It only stirred up large amounts of floating ash on the ground. At the same time, a figure became clearly visible in the continuously shining blue light pillar. Afterwards, the light pillar and the circular space channel above the sky disappeared at the same time, revealing the figure of the person previously obscured by the light. It was the ice flower that entered the battle zone between the Chaos Virus and the Eternal Ascended One through the Gate of Time and Space. Looking around, Binghua bent down and grabbed a handful of lifeless gray sand at her feet. Even without opening her eyes of insight, she already had some understanding of the situation on this planet. There is no atmosphere, not enough moisture, and there is a lack of organic matter in the sand. In short, this is a desolate and dead Death Star. According to Binghua's visual inspection and the location of this planet in this planetary system, this situation should not happen. Then there is only one situation left to explain, and that is the intervention of external entities. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 667. Just when Binghua was checking the environment of the planet beneath his feet, a slight movement suddenly appeared underground. Binghua's expression changed, and the next moment he left the ground and flew into the air 10 meters above the ground. At this time, something made a bulge on the ground. The next second, as the bulge exploded, a gray-black unknown creature with a long mouth pounced on the ice flower in the air. However, before its body could completely break out of the ground, a simple sword-shaped blade had already penetrated its head. The huge kinetic energy fell back to the ground along with its body. It seemed that Binghua's arrival had broken the peace of the planet. Dense sounds began to appear underground, and the white light in Binghua's eyes flashed slightly. The current general situation of this planet is already clear. I didn't expect that after so many years since it was transformed into the Death Star, there are still so many chaotic monsters sleeping here. This is the truth about this Death Star. On the surface, this planet looks ordinary, very desolate, and not dangerous. However, there are a large number of chaos monsters sleeping under the ground of this planet due to lack of supplies, ranging from ordinary to mature chaos creatures. If someone rashly breaks into this planet and disturbs the sleeping chaos body here, he will face an overwhelming army of chaos body. In the short time that Binghua was checking the planet's information, countless monsters similar to the chaotic body that died under her hands appeared on the ground. In the distance, the ground was broken, and one monster was more than dozens of meters long. The behemoth of rice is crawling out. But since there is no intelligent life here anymore and only these irrational monsters are left, then there is no need for this planet to exist. Complex red lines appeared on Binghua's left and right hands, and together they constructed a pair of gorgeous gauntlets. The structure was completed, and the micro-wormhole began to transport the Titan's grip located in the weapon's arsenal to Binghua's arms. As a pair of Titan grips appeared, Binghua flew upside down into the universe while using the Titan grips in his right hand to gather matter, while the Titan grip in his left hand bound the aggregated matter with a force field. When everything was ready, the star-driven algorithm was imported by Binghua and ignited. The next shining orange fireball appeared between Binghua's hands, blooming with majestic light and heat. But soon the majestic light and heat dissipated, and was firmly restrained by the force field within the orange fireball the size of a basketball in Binghua's hand. At the same time, the core of the orange fireball was constantly in Binghua's hand. Frequent fusion reactions are performed under control. Until this moment, the orange fireball in Binghua's hand could truly be called a miniature star. Of course, it was not a real star, just a simulated star that emitted similar energy. Without the control of ice bloom, its lifespan is not as long as that of a real star, which can exist stably for a long time. If the miniature star in Binghua's hands lacks the restraint and maintenance of her force field, it will soon bloom with all its brilliance to all existences to declare its power. When the miniature star was formed, all the chaotic creatures on the nameless Death Star boiled. A fatal sense of crisis woke them up from their slumber. They poured out of the ground regardless of consumption, trying to find that fatal sense of crisis. Source: Binghua was indifferent to everything that happened on the Death Star under his feet. The miniature star was easily held in front of him by Binghua's left hand as if it was weightless. Following Binghua's thoughts, the force field energy pushed the lifted miniature star toward the Death Star below. Until now, the miniature star is still undergoing fusion reactions to accumulate its own energy. And Binghua just watched the chaos monsters roaring at her quietly, unleashing a horrific disaster that could be called the god's punishment of world destruction. Facing the tiny orange fireball that kept falling to the earth, the chaotic bodies went crazy, and they rushed towards it. But at this time, the ice flower has dissipated the force field used to restrain it, and the suppressed majestic light and heat can finally be released at this moment, claiming to all existences here that it is worthy of the name of its own star. Binghua sighed at this moment, so you also know fear. And then was swallowed up by the sudden burst of fire. If anyone's perspective can summarize the entire planetary system, they can find that a shining star lights up in this planetary system at this moment, and even the brilliance of that moment cannot be matched by the stars. After all the light had converged, a silver sphere with a diameter of 3 meters continued to decompose, revealing the unscathed ice crystal inside. The nearby planet was now missing nearly a third. The remaining parts are rapidly disintegrating, the hot magma inside the star core is ejected everywhere, the planet's magnetic field is fatally damaged, and the continents begin to gradually separate from the Earth's core. In the previous horrific explosion of world-killing level at noon, 80% of the chaotic creatures were destroyed by the terrifying high-temperature radiation, and the remaining few were crushed due to the horrific geological movements when the planet disintegrated into powder. Without the heat energy of the star core magma to maintain the minimum survival consumption, even the surviving chaotic organisms will quickly lose their activity in the harsh cosmic environment. They are not super warriors with Kamigawa system technology, able to collect and transform energy on their own, and are self-sufficient to a certain extent. Pure biological evolution relies too much on a suitable environment. After watching the rare and magnificent scene of the planet's disintegration, Binghua directly accelerated to super light speed and left the planetary system, flying in one direction. And when Binghua was far away from the world of justice, looking for the angel group scattered in the chaotic star sea, the known universe also experienced drastic changes. As the Liang civilization closed its doors and the Dino survivors disappeared, the second-tier god-making civilization obtained some god-killing technologies through some disgraceful channels. For a time, God-killing weapon technology began to spread in the known universe, and a large number of imitation disposable God-killing weapons began to appear in the equipment sequences of various God-making civilizations. Among them, the Thunderblade civilization and the Aslan people gradually succeeded the Liang civilization and gained the right to speak in the Shenhe Tiandao galaxy. However, for some reason, the Liang civilization changed its strategy and transferred most of the foreign troops back to the Tiandao Liang planet system. Will give up his position as the leader of the Kamigawa Tiandao galaxy. Both Lei Ren and Aslan knew that this was a deliberate show of weakness by the Liang civilization, but they did not dare to push too hard. After all, the fate of the Dino galaxy was still fresh in their minds, so they did not invade the star fields under the Liang civilization too much. And compared to the Liang civilization, which had closed its borders, the righteous order that had now become one of the poles of the known universe was like a huge mountain weighing on their heads. This pole refers to the known universe under the control of the righteous order, and the remaining pole is the sum of the entire known universe. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 668. Merlot Heavenly Court, formerly the Holy Expedition Palace, is now renamed the Angel Army Council Palace. In an office deep in the palace, intelligence information compiled by various subordinate departments is being read. More than 3,000 years have passed since Queen Binghua left the Merlot Heavenly Court. Ran has been working diligently, for fear of destroying the good situation left behind by the Queen. Adhering to the ideals of her own Queen, Ran warns civilizations that violate the order of justice, and punishes those who violate the order of justice with thunderous means. As a result, the order of justice has been steadily expanding its sphere of influence without any major flaws. However, recently, some sisters have been reacting to Xiang Ran. The new generation's idea of angels is quite at odds with them. They are too kind and often only look at things on the beautiful surface. At the same time, Queen Kesha's actions of intervening in the mortal world that did not believe in angels and eliminating enemies for them were incomprehensible to most of the old angel warriors. Some sisters even got tired of performing tasks because they didn't know what benefit it would bring to angelic civilization. They didn't feel the need to help those mortals who didn't have any resistance and just knelt down and asked them for help. Because often after they help these mortals, those mortals will make the same mistakes in a short period of time, just like continuous reincarnation. Mortals can understand this kind of ignition. For angels, hundreds of years are often the time of one rotation or several civilization observation missions. But for those mortals, it was extremely long, so long that they had forgotten the angels' teachings and the mistakes they had made. In addition, due to various reasons, due to the departure of Queen Iceflower in the past 3,000 years, a large number of angel warriors from the original Heavenly Sword Legion have continuously applied for retirement. Some have settled in the Marrow Heavenly Court, and some have directly lived in seclusion in a certain civilization. Among most of the people in the current command sequence are the faces of the new generation of angel warriors, almost all of whom are less than 5,000 years old. They have extremely little combat experience, because the angel civilization is now one of the poles of the known universe, and no civilization dares to provoke the angel civilization. But the calmer it is, the more internal problems will break out. This is the case in Merlot Heaven. Kesha's influence has gradually spread to the entire Merlot Heaven. It can be said that the entire Merlot Heaven is revolving around Kesha's will. The angels of Kesha's faction are naturally happy to do so. The new generation already regards Kesha as a god and will not have any objections. However, the angels of the Tianjian faction and the Tianji faction who have not yet retired have gradually faded out of the angels' high-level decision-making because of their queen's inaction or retirement. This is not the deliberate ostracism of the Kesha faction, but the alienation caused by the gap in concepts. Moreover, the current military commander of the angels, the Holy Left Wing, is Angel Ran, the direct descendant of the King of Heavenly Sword. The exclusion is also caused by the Skyward Sword faction squeezing out the Kesha faction. As for the Tianji faction, which has never had a high presence in the Angel Legion of Mellow Heaven, it has long existed in name only under the subtle influence of He-11. Most of them have been transferred to the Scientific Research Department, becoming Scientific Research Angels or directly retired. From the symbol of rebellion against male angels, to the ideal home established by female angels, and now the older generation of angels who created the era are gradually leaving. This once sacred and ideal place in the eyes of all female angels has gradually become a symbol of the existence of justice and order, and is no longer an ideal city exclusively for female angels. And Kesha has also quietly become the king of gods respected by all gods within the order of justice, not just the so-called king of angels. Gradually, people no longer call Kesha the king of angels, but the king of gods, holy Kesha. The many changes within the angel civilization are only known to Kesha, who is the absolute highest level of angels, holy wings, and a few high-level angels in important positions. Many civilizations in the outside world still feel that the angel civilization, which has several third-generation gods, multiple first-generation gods, second-generation gods, and high-level angels, with legion as the unit of calculation, is like a big mountain, weighing on the heads of all civilizations. As long as this mountain never collapses, no matter how many calculations they have, they can only hide them deep in their hearts and live by the rules set by the angels. That is the so-called order of justice. When the time came to the 17,000th year of the establishment of Merlot Heaven, this sacred city with a long history ushered in a change that was enough to affect the internal situation of the entire angelic civilization. With the growth of the new generation of angels and the retirement of the older generation of angels, it has become increasingly difficult for Ran to deal with various affairs in the past 1,000 years. The angel legions under his command are full of three voices, which makes Ran have the illusion that fratricide will occur if he is not careful. In the end, for the unity and stability of the angels, Ran and the older generation of angels finally made up their minds and planned to step down and leave the busier front-line work to the new generation of enthusiastic angels. And this means that Ran has given up the angelic military power that has been controlled by the Tianji faction. The angel civilization's intelligence system has long belonged to the Kesha faction, and now the military power is also being transferred. After nearly 20,000 years of transfer and change, the various rites and concepts of the angelic civilization have finally become unified. After hundreds of years of power transfer, Ran also plans to step down from the Holy Left Wing, because now she only has the name of the Holy Left Wing and has long since failed to fulfill her obligations. In the end, Ran led a small group of angels to leave Merlot Heaven to follow in the footsteps of the queen who had retired. As for the future of angel civilization, Ran also looked away, leaving the future to those passionate young angels. The new candidate for the Holy Left will be born among Kesha's two closest subordinates, namely Marrow Defender Elan and Ruaning, who is responsible for angel intelligence work. In the end, Elan, who had many supporters, succeeded the third generation of the Holy Left and took over the military power of the angelic civilization. Not long after the news that Elan had just succeeded the Holy Left Wing came out, traces of demons appeared again in the fringe areas of the righteous order. The outside world only thinks that the change of the Holy Left Wing is just the normal replacement of the old and new angel civilization, but Morgana, who is familiar with the angels, knows all about it. Binghua's departure let Morgana know that the top combat power of Merlot Heavenly Court has been weakened. As Binghua's direct lineage and successor, Angel Ran stepped down from the Holy Left Wing, and Elan, Kesha's direct lineage, took over, representing Binghua's line. It is a foregone conclusion that he will withdraw from Merlot Heaven. Morgana has endured it for nearly 5,000 years, and the strength of the demonic civilization has also recovered during this period, and is even better than before. Nowadays, there is no one in Merlot Heaven, and there are only a few angels of the older generation under Kesha who can take on important positions. This is the best time to destroy the order of justice.